This is CBN NewsWatch.
And thank you so much for joining us. I'm Ephraim Graham. The president's former personal attorney, Michael Cohen, faces 3 years in prison. A judge handed down the sentence earlier today. It comes after Cohen pleaded guilty to charges of tax evasion, campaign finance violations, and lying to Congress about the president's business dealings in Russia. Cohen told the court his, quote, blind loyalty to President Trump led him on a path of darkness, but he will not report to prison until March 6th. He must also pay $1.4 million in restitution and a $50,000 fine. The state of New York is giving a Christian adoption agency an ultimatum: violate your Christian beliefs or be shut down. New Hope only places children with married heterosexual couples because of religious convictions. But the New York State Office of Children and Family Services disagrees with the policy and is threatening to shut the agency down if they do not change. The Alliance Defending Freedom is representing New Hope and says the Office of Family Services is violating the agency's freedom of religion. Gina Halleck of the ADF is here now with more on this story. So does the state require agencies to place children with non-traditional parents?
The state has issued an ultimatum to New Hope Family Services that it must either place with unmarried and same-sex couples or that it must submit a closeout plan for its adoption program.
Why do you think New Hope is being penalized for this policy?
Well, New Hope is a faith-based adoption provider that has been doing fabulous work providing adoption placements to the state of New York since 1965, and it's placed over 1,000 children in loving homes during that time. And the state basically, as part of its routine supervision, came in and discovered New Hope's religious beliefs and that it works consistently with those religious beliefs in placing children. And at that time, it issued the ultimatum to stop doing that or shut down.
What do you think this means for families and children?
Well, more adoption nonprofits mean more children being able to find loving homes. And so that's really the tragedy here, is that if New Hope is shut out of the adoption program, there will be fewer children that will be placed in loving adoptive homes.
What kind of precedent could this set for other Christian adoption agencies?
Well, every individual has the right to live according to their religious beliefs, and adoption providers are no different. The Constitution protects that freedom. So if this were to go the wrong way, that could be a really challenging situation.
Are you seeing things like this anywhere else?
This is really unique in that this faith-based provider has no government contracts and accepts no government funding. And it's really the first time that we've seen an adoption provider being willing to stand up against the government in these types of circumstances.
So, Gina, where does this case stand legally for the agency right now?
We recently filed the lawsuit, and we are asking the court to provide an order that would allow New Hope to continue operating consistent with its religious convictions while the lawsuit moves forward.
So is the agency right now still allowed to operate?
Currently, it is operating. However, it's not able to take on new adoptive families, and it's also not able to commit to working with new birth parents at this time. So they are keeping a list of those people, and they're hoping that they're going to be able to continue working with them.
Is there a time frame for how long you think it's going to take to unfold? Because this seems a bit of a crisis for the agency at the moment.
Yeah, it definitely is a crisis. Unfortunately, we don't have a timeline, but we are asking for immediate relief.
All right, Gina, thank you so much for your time. We will certainly continue to follow this story.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
A massive manhunt is underway for the suspected extremist who killed 3 people at a Christmas market in France. 29-year-old Sharif Chakat shouted Allah Akbar, which means God is great in Arabic, right before opening fire at the Strasbourg market. People ran for shelter behind walls, inside restaurants, and wherever they could find it. The suspect was able to kill 2 people, leaving 1 brain dead and another 12 injured. At one point, police cornered him, but he did manage to escape. Officers have now arrested 5 people in connection with this attack. Meanwhile, the mayor of Strasbourg has decided to reopen that Christmas market as well as surrounding schools Thursday. France's prime minister condemned the attack.
All terrorist attacks touch all of France, and it's plain to see. Each of these attacks have hit a highly symbolic point or moment. There again, during a celebration of love, regardless if one is a believer or not, because it is a family and brotherly celebration that speaks a lot about hope and what unites us.
At this hour, no groups have claimed responsibility for the attacks. Canadian leaders say they are deeply concerned about the detention of a Canadian citizen. Former diplomat Michael Kovrig with the International Crisis Group was held by the Chinese state security after a routine trip there. His organization reports on its website, Crisis Group has received no information about Michael since his detention and is concerned for his health and safety. It is asking for consulate access to him from the Chinese authority. Kovrig's detention follows Chinese warnings to Canada of consequences for his recent arrest of Huawei executive Meng Wanzhou at the Vancouver airport. Meanwhile, about 100 Christians have been arrested by the Chinese government in another crackdown on believers there. A pastor and members of Early Rain Covenant Church were taken on Sunday night after raids on their homes. And joining us now is international correspondent George Thomas with more on this story. So tell us about this recent crackdown in China.
Well, I was just in Beijing a few days ago, and what we know and understand is that this raid happened in the southeastern province of Chengdu, which is in Sichuan province. I'm very familiar with this church, Ephraim. Why? Because several years ago, during the massive earthquake in China, in Sichuan province, this church, Early Rain, was very much a part of the humanitarian effort in rebuilding, and they were ministering. I saw a lot of their church members out in the earthquake zone, helping out. This is no surprise. Let's give you a picture of this particular church. This was a church that was very influential, very well known with the Chinese government authorities. Why? Because it's a so-called underground church, an unregistered church. Even though it was unregistered, it was very, very active. What I mean by active is that it constantly was doing various outdoor evangelistic efforts. It invited the authorities to the church services. There was nothing about what they were doing that was secret. In fact, Ephraim, they would post their services online. It was very, very much an out-in-your-face kind of evangelistic outreach. And so the authorities knew who these folks were. They were very, very engaged. My understanding is that close to about 100 members of the church were arrested in this overnight raid back over the weekend, and they were asked to sign basically a letter that said that this church was a cult. Those who refused to sign the paper were immediately arrested. The top leadership, they've been asked, in essence, they've been put into house arrest. Some of the members posted pictures online saying that they were tortured by the authorities. Again, what we are seeing here is a wider crackdown. I'm not surprised that Early Rain was targeted just because of its very overt evangelistic efforts in the community.
A growing church indeed. So why do you think after all these years is the government now going after them?
Because the government is so afraid of China's Christians. There are millions of Chinese believers who have put their trust in Jesus Christ and not the Communist Party, not the Chinese government. And this scares the bejeebies. Can I say bejeebies?
Yeah, you can say
okay.
bejeebies.
This scares the bejeebies out of the Chinese government authorities, and they are very, very concerned that somehow these believers will somehow swear allegiance to Jesus Christ and love Jesus Christ and somehow not love their country. This is not true. Many of the Chinese believers that I have met over the last 25 years never say to me, George, we don't love China. No, they always say they love their country and they want to win their country for Jesus Christ. But in the process, what has happened since the election, since Xi Jinping, the premier of China, since he has come on the scene in the last few years, he has basically told the entire country that they need to swear allegiance to the Communist Party, to the government, and religious people, people of faith, whether Christian, Hindu, Muslim, Buddhist, Taoist, doesn't matter. All of your faith should be seen in the perspective and through the looking glass of the Communist Party and the authorities.
What impact do you think raids like these will have on the Chinese church now?
Well, in the last 24 hours, members of the early rain say we are going to continue meeting. They've said it doesn't matter whether you arrest 200, 300, 400, or all 500 members of our church, we are going to continue worshiping. They've told their members of the church to continue meeting, to not give up, and they are prepared for persecution. Whatever comes, they are prepared. You have to remember, our audience needs to realize in the last few seconds that I have, this is a country that has endured persecution. The church understands what it means to suffer for your faith. When you put your trust in Jesus Christ, the Chinese believers, they understand it. They are ready for persecution and they will endure. There's a favorite saying within Christendom: the blood of the martyrs is the seedbed of the church, and they are ready for the church to continue growing in China.
We applaud that defiance and we'll continue to pray for them as well.
Absolutely.
Israel is still fighting a hidden threat along its northern border. Defense forces discovered a third tunnel built by terrorists from Lebanon into Israel. As Chris Mitchell now reports, the tunnels put Israel and Hezbollah terror group on a collision course.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu issued a warning to Hezbollah during a visit to Israeli troops in the north.
Our deployment is ready for a strong response if Hezbollah makes a big mistake and decides to harm us or to resist the operation we're conducting. They will be hit in such a way that they cannot even imagine.
Israeli soldiers dismantling the tunnels released a recording of the classified technology to detect them. Meanwhile, a Hezbollah leader boasted all of Israel is within range of its missiles. Sheikh Naim Qassem said there is not a single point in the occupied territories out of reach of Hezbollah's missiles. The Zionists cannot tolerate such a high level of threats in confrontation with Hezbollah, which is why they have no motive for entering another war with Lebanon. Israel's chief of military intelligence warned lawmakers that while the risk of war is low, the potential exists for circumstances to escalate out of control. Lebanon's president downplayed the danger.
Israel has informed us through the United States that there are no aggressive intentions, and it will continue to work inside its territories. We, too, have no aggressive intentions.
The tunnels, however, appear to be part of an aggressive strategy by Hezbollah. Israel says the tunnels violate the UN resolution that ended the 2006 Second Lebanon War that prohibited Hezbollah from a military buildup. Since then, however, Hezbollah missiles have increased about tenfold to some 150,000, giving the terror group more military firepower than 95% of countries in the world. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Coming up, there's a fight to keep Christ in Christmas in Alabama. We're going to hear from one city official who is not backing down.
God Almighty is a God of blessing. He always wants to bless His people. But how do you get that blessing? And what principles will unlock that secret?
In Miraculous Blessings, Pat Robertson shows you how to open the floodgates of God's awesome blessings in your life.
In order to have a blessing, you've got to be blessable.
Discover what the Bible has to say about God's covenant of blessing, the laws of blessing, and what are the hindrances to the blessings of God.
The words of Jesus, they are as valid as the law of gravity, and if we follow those laws, we will be blessed.
You'll see amazing true stories of everyday people whose lives were rescued and transformed by God's miraculous blessings.
But even the doctors acknowledged that this had to be a miracle.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or visit CBN.com to become a CBN partner and get miraculous blessings today.
Hello, I'm Terry Newsom. Did you know there are more than 148 million orphans in the world today? 148 million. But it was 3 little girls that taught me about the plight of orphans. My husband and I spent nearly a month immersed in the daily activities of a Ukrainian orphanage as we waited to adopt 3 sisters. I saw firsthand the utter loneliness, the pain of rejection, and the overwhelming desire to be loved. That experience changed me forever. And out of it grew a ministry from my heart called Orphans Promise. Today, we're helping orphans and vulnerable children in more than 50 countries worldwide. Thousands of children are now in safe homes. They're being educated, and they're learning life skills. I'm asking you to join with me and become family to these children. Will you call the number on your screen right now? Because every child deserves a chance to be happy.
From Rudolph to candy canes to baby Jesus in the manger, some would say there is a recent surge to censor Christians in our nation. In Omaha, Nebraska, a school principal has asked teachers not to celebrate Christmas in their classrooms. And a nativity in Woodland Park, Oregon, was removed after city officials received complaints about it. And for years, Rainbow City, Alabama, has been embroiled in a legal battle with the Freedom from Religion Foundation over its town's nativity display. And joining us now by Skype to share more what this is about is Trenton Garman. He is with the Trent Garman Legal Group. So, Trent, now this is not the first time that you have faced some opposition from the Freedom from Religion Foundation. How did this all start?
Mac Butler, who is a state representative in Alabama, looked at the Constitution and believed that where we, the people, have the right to assemble, that means that we, the people, have the right to assemble at any time in any manner that is reasonable. And he called for Christians to assemble a live nativity scene. And that has taken place now for 5 years. There are masses of people gathering, of course, in different places throughout the country with live nativity scenes. And we are seeing something we believe erupt spiritually in Rainbow City, Alabama, because they're not backing down. The sheriff's not backing down. The state representative's not backing down. The court is now postured for a very conservative push against things like Roe v. Wade's disacknowledgement of science even in that day, and Roe v. Wade's disacknowledgement clearly today of science. So Mac Butler is the one that has not bowed the knee. That man is operating as a powerful elder in the representative system, and so we're so honored to represent him and help him and serve that great cause that he's championing there. So where do things stand legally right now? Legally, we've been threatened by the Freedom from Religion Foundation about our assembly. We have not, from those threats, made any moves to not continue to assemble. And so we're challenging them to file suit against us. We're begging them to seek an injunction. Bring an action. We would freaking love it in Jesus' name. So how is the group fighting back against this? They're doing nothing but sending letters. They're up in Wisconsin. I love cheese. I love dairy. It's wonderful up there. But these people are just nothing but sour cheese coming out of that state and making them look bad. I encourage the people of Wisconsin to step up and start challenging the idiocy of what's coming out of some of these foundations. Just it's absurd, because the Bible is very clear, and so is our Constitution. We're following through in the intent of the Mayflower Compact, which is for the propagation of the Christian faith. And we think that that propagation through America has seen, probably in history, evangelically speaking, the greatest push ever since we've been accepted as a nation. I think we're seeing the end time push now. So we haven't seen any fruitful resistance from them, and we don't ever expect any, because we believe we're operating in the light. We can hear from what you're saying there that there is definitely a fight to keep Christ in Christmas. Do you think secular groups will eventually stop fighting? I don't think they will, but, you know, for people who are called to that fight, it's actually energizing for us. And so we like the fight. What it does, it gives us the opportunity to represent justice and advocate for truth in each one of the forums. So I don't expect them to back off. You know, Lucifer and Jezebel, they're going to continue to cause confusion until Jesus comes back. But we have very clear action plans and steps to counter that. So we do expect it to continue to amp up, and we enjoy the battle, enjoy the fight. Our firm, TrentonGarman.legal, has 7 lawyers, associates of counsel. We've got a staff of 7 that work in contract to support us. So we're fully capable of fighting Lucifer in every courtroom that he seeks to fight us, and we stand for our clients till the end. So we'd love to advocate for others, but Mac Butler's who we're championing here, and he's done a phenomenal job. All right, Trent Garman, Global Legal Analyst, thank you so much for your time. Yes, join us. Go to our Facebook page. We'd love to have you also go to the website and give to some of those causes through GoFundMe.com. And I'd like to let everyone out there know that Roy Moore is not a good shot. Do not go hunting with him. He's not a good shot, but he did pass the polygraph. All right, thanks a lot. Up next, we're going to see how orphans around the world are being helped by people like you right here at home. Stay with us.
Parents, the Superbook Bible app is a great way to get your child reading the Bible, because in today's busy world, we can use some help. The free Superbook Bible app has fun stuff your kids will love. They'll have a blast learning the Bible, playing great games, watching cool videos, discovering heroes in the Bible. They'll have fun while they learn God's Word. The Superbook Kids Bible app, available now.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
We had 4 jobs that didn't go right. But, we didn't waver in our faith.
That's when God put on my heart that we needed to do the well.
Within a couple of days, we got an insurance refund check that we had no idea was coming.
And here we are, this year, it's just boom.
You go out and help other people, and you get rewarded for it.
Get Pat Robertson's latest teaching, Miraculous Blessings.
CBN's Orphans Promise has helped more than 100,000 children a year. They provide education, food, and discipleship training as well, all to transform communities, and they accomplish this with the work of people like you.
I'm Richard Baker, and I give to Orphans Promise because I want to be a world changer.
The most significant conflict with Syria and Iran in years. The Syrians fired a massive number of anti-aircraft missiles hitting an Israeli F-16 warplane. Dramatic escalation, as I mentioned.
Orphans Promise is providing love and care in northern Jordan, where they are partnering with a local church to bring non-formal education to Syrian refugee children.
Orphans Promise is partnering with CBN India to provide education to impoverished children in slum communities.
I give to Orphans Promise because I want to change the world.
Christians in China are facing an alarming escalation of persecution.
Orphans Promise is partnering with social services in Bangladesh to help refugee children and their families. They're giving out milk packs and biscuits to young kids who would otherwise starve.
I'm Ronnie Holden.
I'm Clarice Holden.
And I give to Orphans Promise because I want to change the world.
Orphans Promise is helping young people establish small businesses in Ukraine.
They're leading a movement to put these children in safe, stable, and nurturing families.
We're Benny and Cherry Young.
And we give to Orphans Promise because we want to change the world.
I'm Susan Espinlaub, and I give to Orphans Promise because I want to change the world.
I want to change the world.
Change the world.
To change the world.
As snow and ice fall on the East Coast and Midwest here in the U.S. and winter settles in around the world, temperatures in countries like Moldova and Ukraine hit well below freezing. But Orphans Promise is helping these children that help them to buy brand new coats, boots, and winter hats for 300 children.
I want to change.
I want to change the world.
Orphans Promise is helping feed children in Haiti. Teaming up with a local church, Orphans Promise built a kitchen and dining room to feed 1,200 kids 5 times a week.
My name is Linda Baker, and I give to Orphans Promise because I want to change the world.
I give to Orphans Promise.
And I give to Orphans Promise because I want to change the world.
Hi, my name is Janet Young, and I give to Orphans Promise because I want to change the world.
And if you'd like to learn how to give to Orphans Promise, you can simply visit CBN.com. We'll be right back with much more of NewsWatch right after this.
When you give, smiles grow bigger. When you care, homes are happier. When you comfort, the hurt goes away. When we all come together to love, miracles happen.
Hello, I'm Terry Newsom. Did you know there are more than 148 million orphans in the world today? 148 million. But it was 3 little girls that taught me about the plight of orphans. My husband and I spent nearly a month immersed in the daily activities of a Ukrainian orphanage as we waited to adopt 3 sisters. I saw firsthand the utter loneliness, the pain of rejection, and the overwhelming desire to be loved. That experience changed me forever. And out of it grew a ministry from my heart called Orphans Promise. Today, we're helping orphans and vulnerable children in more than 50 countries worldwide. Thousands of children are now in safe homes. They're being educated, and they're learning life skills. I'm asking you to join with me and become family to these children. Will you call the number on your screen right now? Because every child deserves a chance to be happy.
Hello? Is this thing on? Hey, kids, do you love games? And do you love discovering things? Well, do ya?
Then you're gonna love this. It's the new free Superbook Kids Bible app. You can play games, watch videos, find answers to your questions, and a whole lot more. The new Superbook Kids Bible app. Free downloads available on iTunes and Google Play now.
A 102-year-old woman in Australia is reminding us it is never too late to take a leap of faith. Irene O'Shea is now the oldest woman skydiver, breaking the previous world record. O'Shea jumped out of a plane at about 136 miles per hour Sunday. Her dive not only broke the world record, but it raised awareness about the disease that killed her daughter, who died of motor neuron disease years ago. O'Shea sees skydiving as a perfect opportunity to honor that daughter's life. Grammy Award-winning singer Tamela Mann joins her husband David on a new album as part of their anniversary celebration, and they're sharing their story on this week's Studio 5 on the CBN News Channel. You can call them the first couple of gospel music, and they're celebrating 30 years of marriage. You sit here, do you believe that a bad marriage is fixable? We're sitting down with David and Tamela Mann and getting the secrets to love, life.
Do both of y'all want this?
And their happy longevity.
Yes, and give me a yes that we really want it.
It's an all-new edition of Studio 5, and you can catch it along with this week's countdown of the best headlines in uplifting entertainment. That is tonight at 9:30 on the CBN News Channel. Be sure to join us for that. Remember that you can always get more of our exclusive coverage of the issues you care most about at cbnnews.com. Thank you so much for watching this edition of NewsWatch. We'll see you right back here, same time tomorrow. Goodbye, everybody, and God bless.